Welcome to Pete's To-Do List. Before we get going today, I want to give a big thank you to my wife for giving me a bunch of these Pete's To-Do List shirts. Very cool, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, on today's episode, we are going to change out this kitchen light with a bigger chandelier. First thing to do is move the table out of the way. We'll bring the new light in, unbox it, make sure it's not damaged. Then we'll go turn off the power, remove the light, install the new one, and we should be good. Okay, so let's get busy. Okay, so we've got the light unboxed. It's in relatively good shape. There's only one stem that's bent a little bit. It's no big deal. Positioned our height. See how low we want it. Next thing to do is I'm going to go turn off the power. I'm going to disconnect this light. And then it's pretty simple. Basically install this bracket, make the connections, put on this plate that goes on top of here, and we're pretty much done. It's pretty simple. The only challenge when you're doing lights or this kind of ceiling work, sometimes if it's pretty heavy, like if you're doing a ceiling fan, there's a hook most times that you can hook it on to the plate on the ceiling so that you're not trying to hold on to it and trying to do the connections yourself. So the only tricky part is maybe you want someone else to help you, or if you're strong enough and you can do it with your two hands and coordinated enough, you can do it at the same time. Hold it up there, screw it in place, and get it up. So that's about it. I'm gonna go turn off the power. Okay, so here in Phoenix, they put the panels outside. Typically, I'm used to having the panel inside the house, but here it's outside. And because I don't really trust anyone, I keep it locked. So unlock this, let's put this over here for now. Undo the panel. So we got a 200 amp panel, and they've done a pretty good job of labeling things. So I'm gonna guess that it might be one of these general lighting and receptacles. So I'm gonna just flip the breaker off. And then what I normally do is when I'm out here flipping breakers, I'm on the phone with my wife inside. And then she goes, yes, it's on or it's off, and then I don't have to go multiple trips inside or out. If I'm just by myself, it takes a while if these are not labeled, because you're gonna have to go in, take a look, is the light off, come back out, try another breaker. So let's try this one. I'm gonna shut the... Okay, so the most important thing, one of our life critical rules at my company, it's called out and tag out. So what that means is that if I'm working on that circuit and I have everything disconnected and my hands are on the wires, I don't want anybody coming in this panel and turning this breaker on, because that'll kill me. So it's a bad thing. What I do is I lock the panel back up, I know nobody, I got my key in my pocket now, I know nobody's gonna turn that breaker off and kill me. So that's real important. Let's go back inside. Okay, so it turns out, well, that was not the breaker because the lights that are in the kitchen are now off, but the light that we want to have off is still on. So now I'm going to go back to the panel, I'm going to call my wife on my phone, and then we're going to flip breakers until this one goes off. That's the best way that I've found to be safe and to keep alive. I've been doing electrical work for 40, 50 years, I guess. I've never shocked myself once because I always turn off the breaker, and then I'll test the circuit another 3 times to make sure there's no voltage because I don't want to die. I'm going to go back to the panel. Okay, here's the disclaimer. I am not an electrician, so don't attempt any electrical work at all if you feel unsafe, unqualified, you don't know what you're doing, you don't want to kill yourself. It's better to pay somebody to do it if you don't know how to do it. I've read electrical books, I've taken electrical training, I've seen electricians work all the time, and the best thing that I can do to make sure that I'm safe is I always turn off the power. So, disclaimer over. Thanks. Okay, now I'm going to try and get this stupid screw out of here. And of course, it's a round-headed screw that someone put in there with way too much force, but it looks like it's coming out. Now another way that, if it doesn't come out, you can drill off the head and then take off the plate, but I got lucky on this one because it looks like it's coming out. And just be careful whenever you're trying to remove these with pliers, there's going to be a lot of metal burrs on these screws. So just be careful when you're grabbing that screw for the first time because there might be a little metal sliver in there. on second thought, I thought I was going to trim this lamp wire down a bit, but it's not necessary because this plate that fits on the ceiling, there's enough of a cavity in here that I can, you know, tuck the excess lamp cord in here, so I think I'm going to be fine with that. One thing I'm going to have to do though is I'm going to have to put this plate on now and then put the lamp on top of my ladder, bring the wire up, make the connection, and then lift the wire up and then screw it to the little screws that are hanging out of the base plate at the top. So let's get this fed through here. And we got to make sure this is the right way to do it. So I'm going to use this hole. Put this plate on here. And then the other side. Okay, this guy comes with some locking washers and some nuts. You can see those. So the locking washers and the nuts go on top of these rods that are on the top of the plate. So you need to feed this through your lamp cord, a washer and a nut. It goes up and on, and your washer and your nut. And just a word of advice, with all these, it seems like there's so many products now that are made out of aluminum. Just be real careful when you're threading on the nuts, because some of the aluminum threads are so crappy that it's so easy to misthread them when you're putting them on. So anyways, just heads up. So you want to tighten these down pretty good. And then on the other side, because this is where the weight's going to transfer. It's going to transfer from this plate. It's going to transfer into the screws that are hanging out of the base plate. So I think we're good.
Can you show us what it looks like?
Yep, you betcha. So that's what it's going to look like on the top.
Okay.
Good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this on the ladder. Hopefully this will work. And it won't. So I need a bigger platform to set this on the ladder. So stand by for a minute. Okay, here we go. So
What did you do?
So because the light is wider than my ladder top, I just put on a little cutting board on the top of my ladder, so it's somewhere where I can sit the light while I'm working on the connection. So this is a pretty common light. It's just got a 2-conductor cable, and they bare the wires here for you. But what I like to do is kind of rip these apart a little bit so that they're separate, if I can do that. And there you go. So I like to separate the wires.
Wait. Okay, yeah.
And there isn't, you know, a hot and a neutral marked on these wires. What's going to happen when you make this circuit connection? Electricity basically works on a loop. So the black wire or the hot wire or the feed wire is where the voltage is coming through, and then it goes through your device, lights up your light bulbs, and then it comes back on the white, which is the neutral, which makes the circuit. So that's kind of how electricity works. So there's really no hot and neutral on the lamp wire. You can do it both ways. It doesn't matter, it'll still work. So trickiest parts with electricity is you always want to make sure connections in the fuse panel, on your breakers, your switches, your plugs are super tight, because there's vibration and everything. So there's a chance it could come loose just because. So you want to make sure those are really tight. Okay, so next step, I'm going to install or connect my white wire. And then you just once again, wrap it around clockwise, so it makes a good connection. Take your connector, screw it on.
Now, is that plate tight that you have mounted to the ceiling? It has nothing to do with the box inside the cavity, correct?
So what I've got going on here is this plate is screwed in to the electrical box, and then the electrical box is screwed into a 2x4 support above the sheetrock. So this bracket is tight. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. Watch your hands when you're talking. Yeah. So there's a couple ways we could do this. One way is that if there's enough room, you can tuck these connectors. Up on this plate, what's going to happen is, let me get up here one more step. What's going to happen is you have this cavity in the plate to tuck in your electrical wires, and especially like on when you're installing ceiling fans, oh my God, there's hardly any room in the cavity to make sure it's all in there. So anyways, I think we're good here. I'm going to move this ladder back just a little bit because I'm in a bit of an awkward position. Okay. And this should go pretty easy. Question is, are my screws going to line up? And will I have enough space? Okay, well, I made a mistake because I was saying that these two nuts on this screw were supposed to be together and tight so they would form a good place to screw this bottom cap screw to. However, now that I'm up here, this part of the plate is secured to the ceiling, tight to the ceiling on that side, which means this isn't going anywhere, right? So I can find this hole in the plate pretty easy, but this one is sliding around and I can't seem to get it positioned. So what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to undo these two nuts and then take this one nut to the top, measure that so it's the right width, to secure this screw so it's in the, it's not sliding around, because right now I can't get it through there and tighten the cap screw on the bottom of it. So I'm going to undo these, move this one up, and then I'll be right back with you. Okay, here we go again. I've secured this screw so it's not moving around. I've measured the distance, so I think we're good to go to put this plate on now. I have my two little cap screws here. I'll try to not knock the cutting board off the ladder. And here we go. Tuck the lamp wire up in here. And then let's try and get this in position first. Okay. And this one. This is off just a little bit. Just a little bit of pressure. And can I have the other?
Up there.
It fell off, I think. Thank you. Good to have a helper when you're trying to do this. Okay. Okay, we're gonna try this again. So unfortunately, what I found out was the electrical box that was a little janky in the ceiling was not perfectly flush to the top of the ceiling, which means that these screws and this plate didn't line up right, and I had a gap on the top of my base to the ceiling. So what I've done is I've adjusted this screw so it's now higher and it's secure, it's not moving around. This one's secure. So I should be able to mount, and it should take up the space in between the plate and the ceiling. Cross your fingers. Let's give it a try. And every one of these is going to be a little different and a little wanky and a little bit difficult. The hardest part is just getting these screws in these holes. Once you get the first one, the second one should be okay. There's the first one. If I can hold the light right, get the and get it on. Yeah. This other one. I'm gonna go down a step to see where it is. See if I'm close. And if I could see where it is, it would be helpful. This is the difficult part. This, hey, holy cow, there it is. Now, this can screw more. Yay. I'm feeling good about this. Oh, come on, baby. All right. Oh. Is it the easiest thing to do in the world? No. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, right? The plate, the screws, the cap screws, trying to hold this all at the same time, trying to get it up there. Sometimes they're really a big pain in the ass. But guess what? It's done, and I think it looks good. So let's get off this ladder and let's look at it. Okay, so we got the light up, and it works. I just went back to the breaker and I turned on the breaker and we put in some temporary bulbs. The good news, it works. It looks pretty good. We shined up the top and pretty happy with it. It looks a lot better than the old one does. And now the only thing left to do is we need to put in this cover. And I don't think there's an up and a down to this, so I guess it goes just up in here somehow, some way. Yeah, that's pretty good. So lessons learned on this one. Once again, anytime you're doing, you're hanging something from a ceiling with an existing electrical box and existing connections, have your patience with you because it's going to be a bit of a challenge. It's always nice to have another set of hands to help you as well. When you're doing ceiling fans or lights like this, once you get it done and once you stand back and look at it, you go, yeah, it's worth it. Even though, there was times where I was very prepared to not say something too polite, but it works. It looks great. I think it just adds to the whole upgrade that we're doing to the house here. So that's it. That's it for today. Have a good one, and we'll see you on the next video.